Hey there! If you're an actor, you've probably heard the term substitutions sometime in your training, but a lot of actors don't really know what substitutions mean or how they work or when you would need them or why you would need them, and so I'm going to talk about that. Hey everybody, my name is Doug Fall. This is Augmented Actor. So a substitution is a tool that an actor uses to connect thoroughly with their character, and it also helps the actor justify and motivate any actions that they're supposed to take in the script. And that's the key, actions. Acting is doing. The word to do literally means to act or to take action. So that's where acting comes from. So you're constantly doing something. You're telling somebody something, you're trying to manipulate, you're trying to get somebody to do something, you're trying to achieve an objective, or you're trying to overcome an obstacle. So those are all actions that you're taking. Sometimes those actions feel awkward or unrealistic or unmotivated or unjustified, or you don't understand what is going on with the character that would bring them to take those actions. And that's where substitutions come in handy. You can use substitutions from your own life to get to that place. It's about realizing the imaginary circumstances of the character. Substitutions are also helpful in helping you imagine the circumstances that are happening in the play, whether that's the location of the play or the time period that the play's in, or props and costumes that may or may not be on stage with you, or your relationship to other characters, both the ones that are in the script and the ones that you talk about that aren't in the actual, that don't actually show up on stage. Now, the term substitutions came about from Stanislavski's method acting techniques. And later on, other acting teachers like Hagen, Stella Adler, Meisner, all branched off of that method acting and kind of developed their own forms of substitutions. Hagen calls them transference. Stella Adler uses the term as-if, and I will explain a little bit more about transference and as-if and the differences there a little later on in the video. Now, if you're an actor and you're really familiar with your character, you might not have a need for substitutions too much in a script. But if you're stuck in a certain area and you don't feel motivated or justified in the action that you're taking, you will find substitutions will help you get to that place where those things will feel motivated. And when you're coming up with your substitutions, you can draw upon any aspect of your life. Relationships you've had, places you've been, subjects you've studied, books you've read, movies you've seen, anything like that, anything that will trigger that place where you need your character to be, that you can drum up from your life or your experiences, or even the experiences of friends that you know. You don't need to share these substitutions with anyone. In fact, you shouldn't share these substitutions with anyone. The other actors and the director, they don't need to know how you get to the place you need to get to. They just need to see that you do get to it. You don't have to take things too literally. For instance, if a character is supposed to say, "I hate you," and you can't motivate hate, when have I hated somebody? Well, maybe you haven't hated somebody, but you want to motivate what is causing the character to say hate. So maybe they're jealous of somebody, maybe they're envious of somebody, maybe they're embarrassed by something that the character did. So you find a moment in your life when you were embarrassed and play that. That will motivate the line, "I hate you," instead of finding something about hate. Say you're playing a murderer. Well, certainly you've never experienced murdering somebody. I hope not. But so you don't have to go out and murder somebody to get that experience either. But you will find moments in your life when you might have experienced dominance over somebody or power over somebody, where you had to wrestle somebody to the ground or get in a fight with somebody perhaps, or a moment where you just felt sadistic, like you're twisting or digging deeper in. All those things could motivate a murder. But let's get off the subject of murder. If you've never been to a location, say the play takes place in Paris. Maybe you've never been to Paris, but maybe you've been to New York City. Maybe you've seen the tall skyscrapers there, and that would give you a sense of the magnitude of the buildings in Paris. You've been in a crowded city street before. That would draw something to give you an idea of how crowded the streets are or the smells of the streets. If you're eating food, you're going to be thinking of a delicious dinner, even if it's nothing like the dinner that you're actually eating. It's the experience of having eaten something delicious that you're going to draw upon. The time period that a character lives in is also something that you're going to have to find substitutions for, because most of us didn't live in the past. I mean, if you're doing a film about a bunch of settlers traveling across the desert in a covered wagon, well, you won't have experienced that time period and those trials and tribulations that they would go through. But you have maybe had your car break down or had to push your car out of the mud. You have been to a desert or a hot beach and felt the heat. Maybe you've been thirsty and hungry for a day and not had any food. All those things are things that you can draw upon to get you into that moment. Say you're in a period piece and there's a scene where your ankle is showing under your petticoat and the other character points it out and you have to act mortally embarrassed. Well, you don't really connect with that time period and the rules of society, but maybe you could equate, having your breast slip out of your bra and having a friend say, hey, your breast is showing. That is something that is the equivalent that you could substitute. So however you would react to that situation in real life would be how you would react to that ankle. So you transfer that moment onto the character. So I think this is a good time to illustrate transference and as-ifs. Uta Hagen has this wonderful 3 or 4 hour workshop that's on YouTube. I'll put a link down in the description. In that, she demonstrates what she means by substitutions and how she talks about transference as well.
How substitution in relationship to others can change. Let's suppose my sense of age, how young or how old I am, very often depends on whom I'm with, right? Now, I'm walking down the hall and I bump into Alfred Lunt, and he reaches out and asks to shake my hand. Now, I'm heading here, and I see it's Alfred Lunt. And I'm 18 again. That's how I feel. Because of the admiration about our relationship at that time. Now, I can substitute, if we're playing together, him for you, if I need to. Do you see? Right. And it brings about a totally different... Now, the whole point in substitution is that I'm not carrying, as we shake hands, I'm not carrying Alfred Lunt around in my head. I'm not playing, where is he? And that's what he looks like. And, but I'm transferring that relationship onto you. And when I shake hands with you, I'm doing it to you, right? Not to him anymore. That's where we often screw up in substitutions. We hang on to the source, and it floats around with us. We're doing homework there, and we don't see who we're doing it with. See, when it's translated into action, into behavior with the partner, our relationship immediately becomes something else. Now, if I take my snotty son-in-law, the same circumstances, all right? And you offer me your hand. Okay, here I go. And I go. You see, now... But I've again done it to him, not to my son-in-law. You see, that's the step in rehearsal we often leave out. That we imagine, and then we hang on to the imaginative thing rather than putting it on to the object or the person. Right?
So you see how you can swap out substitutions to get different results. All right, let's look at an example here. All right, so we have the stimulus that your character needs to feel in a certain moment, and then we have the character's response to that, and then we have the resulting action. So let's say you have a scene where your husband is pouting in the living room, and you have a response to that, which results in the action of grabbing him by the hand and leading him to the kitchen to make him do the dishes. And you're thinking, all right, well, the guy's pouting, and what would motivate me to drag this guy into the kitchen, right? Well, you might think of a substitution from your life that would motivate that. And you could think of disciplining your child. If we say, I want to discipline my daughter, you would think of a moment when you got frustrated with your daughter and her pouting, and you grabbed her by the hand and you said, you're going to go in here and you're going to do these dishes. Snap out of it, basically. That would be your substitution. Now, in a traditional method acting, you would think of the daughter, you would picture the daughter's face on the husband's head, and then you would imagine what it's like to go take the daughter there. And that's why the term substitution is a little bit problematic. You want to study this in rehearsal. Think of that moment with your daughter and really dig in to how that made you feel and what motivated it and all that. And then transfer just the essence, just how you feel, onto the character in the scene, the husband. So you don't need to think of the daughter on the husband's face, or even drum up the image of the daughter. You know now what your character is going through to get from this moment to this action. So all you got to do is just do it, right? So you're not really substituting. You're doing it as if, this is the term Stella Adler uses, you are responding to the husband as if you are disciplining your daughter. So you don't even need to think about that anymore. You've got that substitution in place. It's mapped into your rehearsal and your brain. So now you can justify that action. Now, Uta Hagen would say, transfer this. So you're transferring the essence. You're not playing the past in the scene. You are just making the husband daughter-like, and you're transferring the essence of your daughter onto the scene, but you're not really playing the daughter anymore. So in other words, you are transferring all that essence, that energy, that feeling onto the characters at hand, and then playing the scene from there. And that will help motivate you. So that's why that's the difference between a substitution and a transference and an as-if. Substitutions should help you make things less general overall and much more specific, much more particular. So you want to find substitutions for every little moment. Make details, flesh out your world by imbuing them with substitutions from your life. So if you have a prop that doesn't look like the prop it should be, you need to make it the prop it is. You know, a cheap trinket on a table, you can turn it into a family heirloom. You can turn it into a valued gift that your partner gave you before they died. You can turn it into a piece of junk that you hate because it belonged to somebody you didn't like. Knowing that and living in your environment and having all these little details will really make your character specific and make the play specific, and will give you lots of things to play and actions that you can do in a scene. Now, if you want to learn more about substitutions and dig a little deeper into these specifics, watch that Uta Hagen workshop that I recommended, or also read Respect for Acting by Uta Hagen, or Challenge for the Actor, which is her second book. And I have links to those down in the description below. And if you have any questions or you want more specific information about substitutions, feel free to ask me in the comments below. I'll answer every comment. And in this playlist over here, I have more videos on discovering your objectives and your obstacles and other acting exercises that you can learn from. And I love to see you here. Thanks as always for joining me today, and we'll see you soon. Bye.